think the larger issue is that somebody tracked his car. And I know you, Josh Kimbrell, if you found a tracker on your car, you would be pretty darned outraged.
I'm not saying I wouldn't be outraged about it. I've already said that'll be investigated, and clearly people will find out what happened with that. I mean, I understand that's a concern. I'm not saying I think it would be cool or that I would be okay with it. I mean, I'm not suggesting that at all. But I also don't know anything about that, so I can't comment much on what did or didn't happen, other than it was clear from this conversation with you that he was trying to pin blame largely on the Senate Republican caucus, of which I am a member. And I can tell you absolutely sure nobody in the Senate Republican caucus had anything to do with that. And I've spoken to leadership.
Wow.
I've spoken to the folks involved for that. I just get concerned, Charlie, whenever people say stuff that's totally unfounded. If there's a car tracker and that's true, that I understand that'll be investigated, and I'm not saying I'm okay with that. But then he went a way step further, saying somehow this is all tied to the Senate Republican caucus, and that people are going to break into his office and take away computers and real estate records. And look, I have a real estate business too, so I would be concerned about that.
So if it turns out that the Jason Elliott campaign or his associates actually did plant the tracker on the car, how are you going to react to that?
I have to have a lot more details than that. I mean, I don't know who did it. I mean,
okay.
I just
said if it turns out that Jason Elliott's campaign was or associates were behind putting the tracker on the car, how would you respond to that?
Well, I would respond that they have enough to have gone on without doing that, right? I mean, the issue is the residency issue could have been established, car tagging notwithstanding. I'm not commenting. I'm not saying they did or didn't do anything with that. I don't know anything about it. All I'm saying is the residency issue is still a huge issue, and I think that is still the larger question. I know you disagree, and that's okay.
Well,
but I mean, but Charlie, don't you think though? Let me just ask you. I know you're the question. You get to ask the questions, but I'll have a rhetorical exchange back because you and I've always had good exchange.
Yes.
I just said I don't like the idea of car tags, and I'd be mad if somebody did it to me. I don't know anything about it. I had nothing to do with it, and I couldn't tell you what happened. But that issue notwithstanding, anybody who cares about voter integrity or voter fraud, is it not concerning that somebody would use a residence they don't own, they don't live in?
Well, Dr. Carper just said on this show that he owns that property. Now, if he doesn't own that property, that's a completely different issue.
Well, the last property record that I have seen on that is it was owned by a family member. And he may be saying, well, I own it because my family owns it, but that's not how it works under the law. You can't.
So
I can't do that.
Then let me ask you a question. When did you look at the property record?
That was earlier than the election season. It was. That came to my attention some time ago during this election season. During the primary.
Then the question: why wasn't this brought up before the primary?
Well, it has been. I heard about this from numerous campaigns. There was questions in numerous. I know even some of the folks with the Nichols campaign were worried about that.
Why didn't they bring it up to the Elections Commission? Why didn't they bring it up to the South Carolina GOP?
I think it has been. I mean, I'm not personally the one making that report because I don't have anything to do with. I'm not on the campaign or the candidate, but I know it's been an issue. I know it's been brought up well before now, and I know there's been discussions about it with election officials and local authorities. I know that's happened.